I'm here with Jacob, the multi-talented man that just released the Formless Fires. I mean, the album has been out now for a while, with a band that was supposed to be a project that turned out to be a band that, I saw an interview that you did, and you're like, well, I thought I was just going to release something and then call it quits. And here you are with the Formless Fires. How things going with you?
Yeah, it's going good. Doing interviews, doing press, all that jazz, and everything in between. Still trying to get my head together after traveling last night for like 20 hours due to delays and stuff like that. So I'm still a bit worn out, but it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll.
Wow, what a great way to start the conversation with that line. But but let me start off by just what I just said, actually. I saw an interview with you on YouTube. I can't remember with the platform, but I remember you saying that, you didn't really had a vision for this to be more than just a record or something along those lines. It was just a small project. You just had some songs, and now you're releasing, another album, and I think you picked up the bug somewhere along the line, and I don't mean COVID, but you picked up a bug, and now it's going to be hard to stop you. At least that's the impression that I get. So what happened along the way that allow you to go from, I'm just going to do some songs, to, continue this creative output of creating these great albums like the Formless Fires?
Yeah. So when I started the band, I had just this vision of like revisiting my 15-year-old me, I guess, because first when I heard Bathory being like 13, 14 years old, whatever, and like I internet was, I was born in the early 90s, so internet was not really, you didn't really have that much information about anything yet. Then internet exploded, but the information you had was like, yeah, there's this one man band thing and all the mysteries surrounding who played on the albums, and I thought that was like really fucking cool. So what I wanted to do was I want to have a band like Bathory, and that's where it all started, I guess. And I still do this because I just love doing this by my own, just being your own boss and being in control of everything, music and lyrics and everything, arrangements. I love it. It's one of the greatest feelings you can ever achieve when you have done something by your own hands, and if anyone else likes it, then that's a plus. But I'm just I guess I just love writing music. I guitar playing for me has become like guitar whatever. But composing music has always been like like when I write a great song and I feel it here. It's like yes, that's still like the highlight for me when I write a good song. That's always the best part.
Does it, I know you mentioned that, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll, but it's also lonely at the top. Even when you're rock and rolling, do you get lonely sometimes? Like, is there someone that you trust to bounce some ideas off when you're writing music?
Yeah, of course. I mean, whenever I have a demo done, I send that to the guys, and to my live band, that is, and I ask them, yeah, what do you think? And sometimes they come like, hey, what if you change that riff and put it there and do some of that stuff? And sometimes they're absolutely right, and sometimes it doesn't really work out the way I see and hear it, because normally I don't have the vocals on yet, and the vocals is of course the main ingredients to making something, like besides the drums and the bass, and but as soon as you start adding vocals to it, that's really when you start to hear the song. And it's something I've been trying to get better at, just to lay down scratch vocals, especially on the chorus part, because the chorus is always the part that I I, I really always focus on, like making the chorus the most important part, at least in my songs, that it has to stand out from the rest of the track. So yeah, so my live band basically tells me what they think, and I write down some of the keywords and I check it out. Yeah.
Uh, you mentioned the live band. Did playing live affect your mindset in deciding to go and release a second album and now release the third album?
Yeah, in some ways, yes. Because when we released the first album, Funeral Pyre, in 2020, I didn't have any expectations. I knew that it was probably going to sell okay, but it did really, really well. And now we're doing like a sixth pressing of the first album of vinyl, which is insane. And Yeah, that's sort of, I guess, inspired me after seeing like how well it got received, but also because promoters started getting interesting. Like, are you going to take these to the stages? What's your plan? My first plan was, of course, not to do that. Like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do it. Fuck it. It's not interested. But then, I gave it a second thought. Hey, we can try it. Let's do like a small club show, and that's the ultimate way. If it doesn't really represent the music live, if we can't represent the music live as it is on the album, then I will not do it. And if we manage to succeed, then I have no problem seeing why not. And we sure managed to do that, and the train has just been rolling ever since.
I've been listening to you. I've been listening to your band, to your project from the get-go. And when I pressed play on the Formless Fires, it was very clear to me from the beginning that this was your most complete body of work. Like when I look at the design, the way you put the track listing together, the way the songs flow, the songs themselves, the construction, everything about this record just felt like it was in the right place at the right time, which in some of the previous records, there were some gaps here and there. Either the design worked really well, but there was something missing on some songs, or the songs were really great, but there was something missing on the design. And this time, everything was just perfect. And I got that impression right from the get-go. What lessons did you learn from those two previous records that allows this album to be that way, to be a little bit more together, more complete?
Well, I think the word trial and errors comes in here. I mean, when I started with the first album, I had no, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. It's like, whatever, Venom. Let's just put everythh on 10 and let's go for it. That was my that was my attitude. I mean, I was fuck it, whatever, Venom. Let's just play as fast as we can, and write some melodic parts here and there, and whatever. If it turns out great, it will turn out great. Whatever. So of course, I learned how to you know record properly with the second album. I had picked up so much knowledge that and from fuck ups I did on the previous one, and on the Great Blow I had so much more knowledge, and now on the Formless Fires I have even more knowledge. So I think that not only from like a recording perspective, but also I have evolved a lot not only as a human being, but as a musician and a songwriter, which is the most important part. I'm always in the chase of becoming a better songwriter. Like that's like my number one thing in life. It's not to become the fastest guitar player, because anyone can become a super fast guitar shredder, whatever. But writing really good songs that just captures your ears and mind, that's really what I'm all about.
How do you look at the future in terms of that evolution? Do you set yourself certain goals that you know that I have to do this in order to achieve that, or do you give yourself a little bit more room for things to grow in a more organic way?
Yeah, I try not to think about it, because I think if you try to think about it too much, then you overthink, and that's never a good thing. I try not to think about it. I just let it go, like organic, like naturally, just flow through me. And that's I think it comes down to like listening to a lot of different styles of music. I mean, Pink Floyd is like my favorite band of all time, for example, and I have stolen every Thin Lizzy melody there is. And as much as I love like Dark Throne and that stuff, there are so many more ways to express myself in terms of when it comes to metal than just playing minor chords all over the fretboard. I'm a sucker for good melodies. I'm a sucker for like really good like vocal stuff and all that. So yeah.
And this record had a lot of that, but it felt for some reason, even though it has a lot of melody, it felt like it had this very dark undertone, this very dark belly to it. Where does that darkness coming from?
From the inside.
From
Yes.
your dark heart.
Yeah, I guess. No, I don't know. I mean, that's impossible to answer. But I guess it comes from me. I mean, where else? I mean, it's I have written the songs, I have arranged them, I have composed them. It has to come from me. I don't know where else it would come from.
Who did you work on the production of the record?
Um, well, all the pre-production was done in my home studio where I'm sitting at right now. So I didn't really produce the album that way with anyone else besides myself, but I did. The guy who mixed and mastered it, Ronnie, had some lines that he, some notes that he had to look at, and like when he mixed the album, like this is how I want it to sound. This parts has to have this and this and this. But yeah, Ronnie Björnstrom is the one responsible for the mixing and mastering, and I think he's the one who captured exactly what my vision was, how I wanted it to sound like. And he was so easy to work with, and I love the guy. He's such a amazing and great guitar player as well. So
You obviously have the hands on the record from the beginning to the end, everything that goes in it. But is there something about making a new record that you don't enjoy, but you know it's part of the process and therefore you have to do it?
recording it. I love, as I said, I love writing music. I love composing, but I hate recording it. It's the worst thing I know when it comes down to like making records. It's like recording it because I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I become very stressed sometimes, especially because I know that I have songs that are technically very challenging, and I know that there is you have this certain amount of time, and you have to nail it, and the confidence has to be there. Your brain has to be functioning to 110%. So that's the most challenging part for me, and that's the one thing I don't like is actually to record the music. It's getting better. This album was very easy to record, where I think I was in a different state of mind, and I was having this clear vision that everything's gonna be so cool, everything's gonna be fine, that the songs are so great. Don't try to calm myself down. Don't worry too much. Just you know, stop crying, start working.
Are you a perfectionist?
I think every artist are in some way. I mean, everyone who takes the arts on a very serious level would not put out something that they're not proud of. So I mean, sure I am to a certain level, but it depends. I mean, I don't like metal, for example, that is super polished. I am old school. I love my metal old school. I mean, whenever I hang out with my friends and they come over for beers, we put on old Venom, Celtic Frost, Possessed, that's the stuff. Morbid Saint or whatever. That's kind of the stuff that I like. I'm not. I have no idea what's hip or new in the metal scene, and I don't care. I just put on my old records still, and I enjoy that. I mean, if they form a new band, I check it out. But I don't know. I'm terrible at checking out new stuff. Besides, if it's like someone I know that sends me a link or something.
In that search for perfection, when you're composing a new song, do you have your own your own safety devices that pull you back when you feel like you're getting too much into the weeds and you're overthinking the song? And I'm like, like I could do this here. I could do this. Like, is there something internally in you that you're like, dude, come on, it's the way it is. Like, let me pull back a little bit.
Yeah, I think the best way for me when it comes to when I go into that state of mind is that I save and I exit the program. I turn off my computer and I go for a walk. I think because then I just let it go. I put on some music and I take a walk and I do something else, and then I come back and I listen to it. And normally I have a different view of the song, and then I probably rearrange stuff. That happens quite often actually.
When you talked about some of your inspiration in the bands that you listen to and saying that you're old school, so when people use the words black metal, what does that mean to you? What is black metal for you?
Well, I think it's very personal. I mean, I think everyone has their own view of what black metal is, but black metal for me is the ultimate way of for me to express myself musically. I mean, it's you could say, oh, it's war and it's blah 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 blah, but we've heard that 1,000 times already. So that doesn't need any introduction. But what it means to me is like the ultimate. I don't know. It's the ultimate style of music in where there are no rules. You can do whatever you feel like you want to do, and it's yeah, it's very hard to explain. But I think you get what I mean. But it's for me, it's the most liberating style of music there is.
And you were mentioning earlier about the success of your debut album that surprised even you, that you perhaps didn't think was going to be that successful. This one now, the latest one, the Formless Fire, is coming out on Metal Blade. Do you expect even more success, considering that now you have a label like Metal Blade that's obviously going to allow the music to reach people that probably never heard of you before?
Mm. Yeah, it's very hard to say, but I think this album will be. Um, I think a lot of people that normally don't listen to this style of music will find something there that speaks to them, because KVAEN is not, it's not a one trick pony. I mean, it's not a black metal band, it's not a death metal band, it's not a thrash. There are so many elements in KVAEN's music, and that's always been one of my go-to things when it comes to KVAEN, is to never limit myself with KVAEN. It has to have something, because as I said, I love all different kinds of music. Everything from Pink Floyd to Led Zeppelin, Mötley Crüe, Toto to Dark Throne and Mayhem and all that stuff. So for me, it's always been important not to limit myself with KVAEN. There has to be the heavy, there has to be the blast beats, there has to be the shreddy guitar solos from the 80s. So yeah, definitely, and I think why KVAEN has gotten a reputation is because it doesn't really sound like one thing. There is something for everyone.
For somebody like you, that I feel like you said, you don't listen to new stuff. You have your own vision. I almost get the sensation that you kind of live in your own bubble, if you will. How do you prepare yourself to perhaps deal with success in a different way? People recognizing you, recognizing your music, approaching you. That is a complete change from where you were 2 records ago.
Yeah, I try not to think about it. It doesn't. I don't care really. As long as I can write music, and as long as I can do what I love, and yeah, that's all that matters to me. I mean, I'm I'm just so happy that a label like Metal Blade showed their interest. Like, hey, that's awesome, and also that other people, I met people that have tattooed, they're like sleeves with KVAEN stuff. I'm like, that's crazy. But at the same time, I see myself. I could see myself doing that, doing like a Pink Floyd tattoo, for example. And I mean, it's pretty much the same thing, but except that they're way bigger than I am. But yeah, and but as I said, I mean, I've never really thought about success because it doesn't really matter. I mean, for me, it's always been about music and making music and creating and composing and just having fun, not about becoming famous. There's nothing wrong with becoming famous or whatever, but it's never been like a goal in that sense.
So without that not being a goal, do you, at the very least, you don't care about success, but do you at the very least care about what people think? Like the album has been out now for a couple of for a week. Do you pay attention to what people are saying? Do you read comments on social media?
I stay away from social media. I think social media is it's not healthy for anyone. I stay away from it because I'm not built to be on social media. It makes me sick. So no, I don't. I mean, on YouTube, I have stumbled across some comments and whatever, but no, not on social media like that. I barely understand how it works. You know? I'm still in the learning mode, like Instagram. Pay ad 5,000 euros. No, cancel.
You're still taking some baby steps in the whole process. I love your down to earth vibe and mentality because I think it makes the music that you create so much more real for a lack of a better term. And I think that's one of the things that I've always gravitated to what you make is that your music feels very authentic. It's very authentic. It's very real. It's not fabricated, not overly produced, not trying to hit a specific niche, a specific market. And that freedom, that creative freedom is what's attractive to me when I listen to your music. I think you did a phenomenal job with this record.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I mean, I'm not trying to be someone else because there are so many other people trying to be someone they're not. So I'm just I'm me being me, and I can't do anything about that, unfortunately.
You being you is good enough. It's good enough for me and it's good enough for all of us. Jacob, thank you very much for your time today, man. I really appreciate talking to you about the record. Congratulations. Really a phenomenal album, like a complete body of work. One of my favorite albums to come out in the month of June. Just really strong album from the artwork, like I said, to the design, to the way you put the track listing together, to the songs. Phenomenal, phenomenal job.
Thank you so much, and yeah, what can I say? I'm so happy that you liked it and that you enjoyed it as a whole album. Because a lot of people these days they're not really that into albums anymore, unfortunately. I
Unfortunately.
mean, yeah, I mean, I love going out buying an album, even if maybe I heard like a song, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go and buy the album and check it out because that in that way I love buying vinyl, for example, just sitting down, listening to vinyl, open up the gatefold or whatever, just following the album from beginning to end because in my opinion, I listen differently when I sit with a vinyl rather than putting on Spotify or whatever. I
I
mean,
don't
it's
even have
easier.
Spotify. Like you don't have
Oh,
social media. I don't have Spotify. I just don't. I just for me, I'm a record listener. I'm not a singles
yeah,
listener.
yeah,
I
yeah.
like nothing better than that smell, that new smell of either a vinyl or a CD when you open it up. And like that, it's just amazing reading the lyrics, following the songs. I always feel like artists put their effort into creating a record for a reason, so I should give it my attention in the same way and go from first to last and experience that entire journey. That is how I feel like albums are meant to be consumed, and that's how I like to listen to a record.
Yeah, and same way here, and that's I hope to see a little bit change from the younger audiences because I mean, seeing how things have changed now, it's a lot of singles instead of albums, and I'm hoping to see a little bit of like the younger audiences picking up the whole album feeling once again.
Yeah, I think the vinyls help with that, to be honest, because We grew up, and I'm older than you. I grew up with vinyls and stuff where you didn't have a chance to just listen to one song. You put the thing on, you listen to the whole thing. And with Spotify and all of the new modern technology where you could just listen to one song from one record and then go to another song from another record, whereas more playlist driven, it really
Mhm.
changes the way kids. I see that with my son. He doesn't listen to
Yeah,
albums, he just listens to songs.
yeah. Well, there you go. You just prove my point. And I mean, I don't like that way of seeing music at all. I mean, for me, it has to be the whole experience or nothing at all. So, like just going out buying a vinyl, just sitting, have a beer, and listen to the album. That's like that's one of the best feelings ever. Like, and especially if you find something that it's like, oh, I didn't expect this to be this good. It's like when I bought my first vinyl I ever bought was Wasp's debut album, and then John Norum's debut album. I had never heard that one, and then just putting it on, I was like, wow, you know. So yeah, that's how I was raised.
Yeah, yeah, those are the memories that stay with you for sure. I think kids these
Yeah.
days they look more at music almost like fast food. I just want this,
Yeah,
this. You know what I mean?
exactly.
And instead of
Yeah,
taking the time, I mean, sometimes fast food is okay if you're in a rush, but I prefer a good meal where you sit down and you enjoy the meal, and you have a conversation with somebody as you're having that meal. I think there's a lot to be said about that, and I think listening to music from that standpoint is the same. If I like what if I listen to one of the singles from the record, it doesn't give me the idea of what the record is all about until I listen to the record. Even the single out of the context of the album, it almost sounds different than when you listen to the single in the context of the album.
yeah, right. Yeah, so it's yeah, it's a different time now. I mean, it is what it is, but maybe it will come back. Maybe things will change. I don't know.
We're dinosaurs, my friend. We're dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Jacob, thank you very much for your time, man. It was an absolute pleasure. All the best to you and continue to make music.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me and for taking your time to talk to me. I really appreciate that. And
Oh, my pleasure.
yeah, and I will try to continue what I do best, being me, writing music written by me, and so on.
Yeah, and stay off of social media.
Yeah, I will.
Take care, man. All the best.
Yeah, cheers. Bye bye.
Bye.